or not, whether it acts in a way that to us is conscious. I mean, how do I know you're conscious? You know, the old razor there. I mean, we can go and look inside it once we think that it feels conscious to us, and we can see what's happening inside, and maybe that will give us some insight. But I don't think there's any magic to consciousness. Yeah. I'm not deeply troubled by the issue of consciousness.
No, good.
But that gets this issue. You know, if we start to feel that it's conscious, you know, we're sort of biologically, evolutionarily wired to treat things that appear conscious in a special way.
A fooling way.
Well, yeah. in a special way. We do have morals about it. Yeah. And you know, one for me, one great measure of success would be if this ever gets to the point where we feel bad about switching it off or erasing its memory, then that would say to me that it really does have some qualia.
You know, if dreadful people crept in at night when you weren't here, you know, like, and taught it bad manners and to behave in the most frightful fashion.
You mean my graduate students?
Yes, that's right. Made it a crap thing. But you thought that you could morally improve it by taking a screwdriver to this bit or doing that.
Well, I don't think we're going to have to face those issues in the short term. I mean, really. I mean, that's almost thinking about it in too science fiction-y a way. Yeah. This particular beast here is not going to get to that grand level of feeling, but I think it's going to lead us along the path in the way that simpler animals are along the path towards consciousness. Yeah. And if you're willing to give anything to something beyond humans, then it becomes a continuum. And I think it's going to be the same with our robots. There'll be a continuum once we come to understand them and interact with them enough, where we using the same machinery we use to distinguish between different sorts of animals, we'll say it's a dumb robot or it's a smarter robot, and that will correlate with our view of how much they're thinking.
Yeah. In the sense that it's going to be thinking. It's going to think it's one of us.
It's going to think. Yeah. It's going to think. You used that word. I didn't use the word think.
Okay.
I'd like to think that it will have the appearance of thinking. Yeah. And now whether you want to categorize that as thinking or not is even gets into being a religious question. From my point of view, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and smells like a duck, it's a sort of a duck.
Yeah.
I mean, if it walks like a duck, and it talks like a duck, and acts like a duck, well, that's ridiculous, of course. I mean, we designed these machines precisely to act as if they were worried about chess problems, or act as if they were thinking about the next move. But of course, they're not. I mean, that's not the way they work. But the mistake is to think that the behavior is all that matters. That if you got a machine that said, I'm conscious, or I'm thinking about suffering anxiety, then it's suffering anxiety or it's conscious. Doesn't follow. You must have inside mechanisms that are capable of doing what our brain does. The outside behavior, that's just a symptom. That's not the real thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's to go back to the car analogy. You can get your car is designed, and no doubt if they don't have them, they will. The car will say, time to put in more petrol, or you need to put in more oil, or I need more oil, or I'm thirsty for petrol. But that doesn't mean it's thirsty. It's just the external behavior. And the important thing about the mind is, in addition to the external behavior, you've got to have the internal mental phenomena, the internal conscious state.
And when I observed my own internal conscious state, I found myself in two minds. Going okay, Ken?
Yeah. No. Listen, I've got it sorted. It's the Society of Mind, Ken.
Well, I don't think it'll be that easy.
What?
I was in a state, my brain in turmoil. One moment I was convinced by Minsky's arguments, the next by Searle's. It's the complexity, and that's the key to it. A whole society of robots all keeping tabs on each other. That's where consciousness comes from, Ken. No. All you'll end up with is a fancy zombie, and zombies don't have qualia, Ken. Just because something acts like it is conscious doesn't mean it is. Quacking like a duck isn't enough to get you into the duck club. Bollocks! Was it going to take to convince you? Let's just suppose we do finally build a conscious machine. Wouldn't that mean we'd finally solved the mystery of consciousness? Isn't that precisely why we are trying to build them? So we can finally understand consciousness. And surely that's going to be enough to satisfy the philosophers.
Even if they built a machine that behaved just like we did, and we actually knew somehow that it was conscious, which I don't think we could know, even if we knew that it was conscious, they still wouldn't have explained it. Because, okay, we'd look at the physical stuff, there it would be, and we'd say, when that physical stuff is happening, this creature is having a conscious experience of tasting salami.
Yeah.
But all we'd have, once again, is a correlation. That when you get this physical stuff, these microchips, whatever, you get the taste of salami. We know they correlate, but that doesn't explain anything. We can imagine giving this incredibly complete story of all the physical goings-on.
Yeah.
Well, how could that ever explain, how could we ever understand how that was the basis of a sensory experience like seeing red or having a certain taste or feeling velvet? They can't seriously think that they've explained it, it seems to me.
No.
I mean, I find it hard to understand what their conception of consciousness is if they think that they can explain it like that.
But surely if we knew everything that there was possibly to know about physically about a piece of artificial intelligence equipment or the brain, what else is there to know?
In reply, I could tell you a story that's very popular with philosophers. It's the story of the black and white room. It was invented by an Australian philosopher called Frank Jackson, and what he imagines is a scientist called Mary, who is an expert on colour vision, on the whole physical basis of colour vision. According to the story, she lives all her life in a black and white room and she never ever sees anything but black and white. Okay, she knows everything there is to know about the physics of colour vision and what happens in the brain when someone's in front of a red wall, say. Imagine she's got this scanner based on your brain, and she can look at your brain and she can say, okay, now you're seeing red, now you're seeing blue, now you're seeing green. And she's always right, because she just knows what the physical basis is.
Yes.
But she herself has never seen anything but black and white. Now, the people who think that there's no problem about consciousness, the physicalists or materialists or artificial intelligence experts, say that there's nothing she doesn't know about colour, but that seems to me clearly wrong, and the natural reply is, well look, suppose she were to walk out of the black and white room for the first time in her life and see red or see a Jackson Pollock painting or something, she would learn something new, she would experience something she has no clue about, and that is what it's like to see green or to see red or to see blue. Nothing in her science can have given her any basis for knowing what that's like.
So she had been learning the way a computer does, just getting the data. Now, if the philosophers were right, sure, she'd only really know what colours were like when she saw them. But if Minsky was right, she would already be conscious of colour. It seemed there were two possible endings to this story.
Excuse me, what are you staring at?
Is it wonderful?
Well, it's odd.
No, the colors.
What? Can't you see them? Of course I can see them. So what?